Now, are there some comments or questions? Yes, Paul.
Just to say that, and also to answer the question about where to find out more information about the practice of restoration ecology, the Society for Ecological Restoration meeting will be in Cape Town this year in September. And you can bet your bottom dollar that Tokai and Rondafle will be on the agenda for experts coming from all over the world to see what can be done.
Yeah.
And I think I would say also that the Society for Ecological Restoration, which really is the, I suppose, the more academic end, but with many practitioners increasingly involved, have gradually over the years adopted more and more of the principles that Sergei has been talking about, including this idea of reference ecosystems, where you take an ecosystem at one point in time and you try to replicate it, ignoring that these are dynamic systems. And I was in the last SER Congress in Manchester, I think it was, and we had a plenary speaker stand up and say, we cannot be dictated to by the plant Taliban, who are telling us that, this is the way these species assemblages must be just so. Mm-hmm. So I think, and there's been a whole debate also around outbreeding versus inbreeding depression and so on that has moved on. There is a strong growing scientific basis for ecological restoration, and increasingly practitioners are plugging into that. So I would encourage people who are interested to come to Cape Town, and not only to see Anthony's work, which I've been familiar with for nearly, over 15 years now, but also what other people are doing around the world in this respect.
If I may just say that Tokai Park has been a very good resource for scientists doing restoration work and scientific investigation of the process, and also bringing in schools to bring to their attention the necessity of looking after your flora, especially when your flora is sitting down at 11% left in the wild, and to bring this information through to your local population, to get them involved is really important. But I've learned so much in the process, and while I was focusing, as I mentioned earlier, on one species, it ballooned out into a whole suite of species. Tokai Park was a plantation of pines. The last count from Dr. Rebello was well over 350 species that have recruited from the seed bank, and we've introduced a couple. Generally speaking, restoration is easier to do if you're doing it with seed broadcasting than it is by bringing living plants in, but you don't have a choice when you have a plant that's extinct in the wild. And it's very difficult to produce seed in a botanic garden where you've got all these other plants around. So they have produced seed in the restoration habitats, and we would like to follow up and get more of that seed into the Millennium Seed Bank. There is some already, but I think we need to carry that on, because for me, we're not always going to have the opportunity to have areas to restore plants to. So in some cases, our ex situ collections are going to be the only opportunity we're going to have to keep the plants in existence.